Army is shocked. Jungkook finally reveals his feeling of loss as Taehyung leaves LA. Before we dive into this emotional unraveling of friendship, separation, and a brotherhood under pressure, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell, because we're just getting started, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. It all started quietly. No announcement. No warning. Just a subtle shift. Taehyung had been spending extended time in Los Angeles, solo projects, photo shoots, private dinners with a circle of friends far removed from the high-gloss world of K-pop. The world was watching, but not many noticed the silence growing between two of BTS's most emotionally intertwined members, Jungkook and Taehyung. For years, fans had known them as Taekook. Two sides of a coin. Different, yes, Taehyung's dreamy artistry and quiet introspection playing against Jungkook's passionate, perfectionist energy. But something deeper bound them, something that always made their moments on stage, and off, feel electric. Unspoken. Real. So when Taehyung's LA departure became official, what broke the internet wasn't just the flight, it was Jungkook's reaction. In a V-Live that began like any other, Jungkook talked about his solo music, his workouts, the weather, until, slowly, the mood shifted. There was a moment, barely noticeable, when his eyes dropped, and he said, "These days, something feels off. Like a piece of me is just, not here." At first, it didn't click. But then he added, "It's weird when someone you've shared everything with is just, gone." That was the spark. Fans froze the stream, analyzed every breath, every glance. Was he talking about Taehyung? Was this Jungkook's way of saying he missed him? And if so, what had happened? Rewind. To 2019. Backstage at the Love Yourself tour. An off-camera moment, captured in grainy fan footage, shows Taehyung sitting alone, head down, with Jungkook quietly approaching, placing a hand on his shoulder. They sit in silence for over a minute. No words. No smiles. Just presence. That was their language. A bond built not on theatrics, but on an understanding so deep, even silence said everything. Now fast forward to 2025. That silence? It changed. Some insiders close to the group hinted at diverging paths. Taehyung, exploring jazz, film, and fashion circles in the West. Jungkook, immersing himself in perfecting his solo career, chasing a sound that blended genres like liquid mercury. Two artists growing, evolving, but also, drifting? The real question began to surface, was this just creative distance, or something deeper? Then came the quote. A journalist asked Jungkook during a Japanese radio appearance how it felt watching his members explore their own paths. His response was simple, but haunting. Sometimes, it feels like we're chasing different sunsets. Still beautiful. But far apart. The metaphor wasn't lost on Army. Different sunsets. A poetic way of saying something fans had feared for months, that the emotional proximity that once defined Taekook was shifting. And when Taehyung boarded that flight from LA back to Seoul, alone, it felt like a door quietly closing. But here's where the story twists. Because just when fans thought the chapter was over, Jungkook did something that cracked everything wide open. During a late-night Instagram Q&A, a fan innocently asked, "Do you miss V?" His response? Just one word. Always. And below that, a black and white photo of the LA skyline, taken from a hotel room window. Was that Jungkook's? Was it taken on a night they spent together? Was he remembering a specific moment? Army didn't sleep that night. Theories exploded. Was this longing? Regret? Or a quiet tribute to a friendship that had survived fame, time, and distance? More importantly, was it a cry for reconnection? Music fades into eerie ambience, visuals of empty stages, echoing cheers from past concerts. Here's where it gets even more surreal. Not long after that post, a private audio clip, allegedly from a rehearsal session, leaked online. A voice, unmistakably Jungkook's, was heard singing a new, unreleased ballad. The lyrics? Where do we go when the laughter fades? Where do we stand when the lights betray? I stood beside you, now shadows remain. But still, I wait. The pain. The yearning. It wasn't just a song, it was a confession. Not directly to Taehyung, maybe. But to someone. And the timing? Too precise to ignore. The fandom didn't just hear heartbreak. They felt it. So now, the world is left asking, was this Jungkook's farewell? Or a plea? Because beneath the stardom, the perfectly choreographed performances, and the global brand of BTS, there are still 7 boys. And for Jungkook, Taehyung wasn't just a bandmate. He was a mirror. A muse. A constant in a life that never stood still. But what happens when the constants change? And that is where we pause. Because what comes next isn't just about music. Or fame. It's about identity, belonging, and the cost of growing apart when the world expects you to always stay the same. Stay with us. Because what happens after Taehyung's departure will make everything you thought you knew about BTS feel like just the beginning. For most people, fame is a fantasy. But for BTS, it's been reality since their teenage years. A whirlwind of stages, cameras, awards, but also of shared ramen at 2 a.m., long talks under practice room lights, and quiet reassurances in the middle of breakdowns. That's what makes Jungkook's silent heartbreak so piercing. Because it's not just about missing a friend, it's about watching the only home you've ever known change. There was a time when Taehyung and Jungkook were inseparable. In 2015, during an interview, a barely 18-year-old Jungkook once said, "If I'm ever confused, I just look at Taehyung. He's like my compass." That line, back then, seemed sweet. Now, it's haunting. In an off-the-cuff interview in Seoul, Taehyung was asked about what he missed most about LA. He paused. Thought. Then softly said, "Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this story moved you, share it with a fellow fan. Let's keep the conversation alive, together. And remember, this isn't goodbye.